I keep my boys humble. Like my boys have never had a pair of Jordans. You know, my boys don't do all that internet fly shit. I'm like your kids. And no, I don't give a I could be the biggest star in the world. Do not let me catch you being stupid. Mm-hmm. Do not. And my oldest gets it. My 15-year-old, he tells the other ones, he's like, yo, don't make dad mad. Because once you get one that's right, he's gonna straighten the other ones out. Mm-hmm. So it's just that thing of, you know, in the past 20 years, we've been living through the death of the American male.
Man, god damn.
They have literally killed masculinity in our homes and our communities.
Good.
For one reason or another. But I raised my boys to be young men. And however you feel about that, you feel about that. Right. But my boys will always be respectful. They will always say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. No, sir, no, ma'am. They will always say thank you. They will always open the door for a lady. They will always make sure that their mother is taken care and provided for. They will always be men. And that's always since they were 2 years old. Every time I left for a job, I tell my 15-year-old, you're the man of the house.
Why? Why? Why would you why would you put a 15-year-old in charge of an adult woman? I mean, considering there's an adult woman there, I'm guessing you didn't leave on a trip and leave your 15-year-old with his siblings all alone for a trip. Pretty sure his mama was taking care of him in your absence, right? Why would you tell a 15-year-old boy that they are in charge of the house? The way that you guys think maleness equates to leadership and intelligence is wild to me. And why would you tell a 15-year-old boy that they're the man of the house and then simultaneously tell him to respect his mother and listen to his mama? Do you see how those things can be conflicting? Like, what do you mean 15 years old, he's the man in the house? Because if some fictitious fucking burglar breaks in the home again, that you really think you Captain America, like like your son, like he's gonna break in and your son's gonna have to put on the suit and fight off 3 henchmen, you know what I'm saying, that work for goddamn Hydra. Like, bro, what are you talking about? Here's a 15-year-old child. He is not the man of the house. He's not the head of the house. And if you're telling him that, why would you want to do that to a 15-year-old? Why are you adultifying a 15-year-old in that way? That's weird. You could tell them to contribute more. You have to be like, when I talk to my children or my child, I have 2 sons, but you know, my older son has autism and he ain't, you know, that boy live in a different world. But my younger son, if I were to talk to him about something like that, I would detail what I want him to do. It wouldn't be some vague ass shit like, you the man of the house. Like, I would be very detailed. I would be like, now that I'm gone, the things that I was doing, you know, like taking out the garbage, helping mom out, folding clothes, washing the dishes, you know, with the labor in the home, I need for you to do that. And I would hope by 15 they were contributing, but I would be like, no, now you need to carry my load too. And just that, like, that's pretty much the only thing that I want him to do, right? Help with if you got siblings, help with your siblings more, be on your best behavior. You know what I mean? Tell them stuff like that. But beyond that, I'm like, you know, it's kind of like when I talk about, I'm gonna do the obligatory sports analogy, but like when I play sports, I hated the coaches when like that. I hated the types of coaches that wouldn't give you detailed instructions on how to do something in a game, and instead they would just offer you a bunch of platitudes like win one for the Gipper and you got to dig down deep and like shit like that. I'll be like, bro, we're down 7 with, you know what I'm saying, with a minute and a half to go. What the fuck is the plan? What are you seeing? What are they running? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's going on? Like, that's the type of shit that I want. I want a plan. Don't give me a bunch of fucking platitudes. and really don't do that to a child. Like I felt like that back when I was a teenager. You know what I mean? You know, so I know how dumb it sounds to hear an adult tell you, give you these like vague instructions. You got to be the man in the house, and you will always be a man. Like, what the fuck are you talking? What are you talking about, Anthony Mackie? What do you mean? Shit is so dumb. The death of the American male. That's shit that white men are saying, bro. What do you talk? When were black men ever allowed to be men in this country? When were black men ever seen as men in this country? I'll wait. When you talk about the death of the American male, what are you speaking about specifically? You mean nowadays how men can't act like fucking John Draper or whatever his name is from Mad Men? They can't pinch women on the asses at work anymore, and they can't grape their wives and get away with it. Like, yeah, that shit should be done away with. We didn't have locker room talk. We said men were able to say what they wanted about women in front of audiences. You want to go back to the days of Sean Connery talking about it's okay to punch your wife sometimes? Those what are you talking about? The death of the yes, American maleness, and it's not male. It's not manhood, American manhood, or whatever the fuck you're talking about. It's male chauvinism. American chauvinism is dying, right? It is slowly dying, by the way. It's not even rapidly decreasing, but it's slowly dying. But now we're seeing this great pushback. The Trumpers and all of that, a lot of that is a direct response to women getting autonomy. And when women get autonomy, male chauvinism and female autonomy cannot exist at the same time. So the more freedom women get, the less chauvinistic the men have to become. That's all it is. And so when a man says male, American masculinity, aka fucking chauvinism, is dying, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. That's a positive thing.
You make sure these doors are locked every night. This alarm is on. You text me or you call me every night before you go to bed and you wake up.
I love it. Exactly. Okay. So you're doing the things that, like I said, that's exactly what I'm saying. You're giving your son direction. You're saying, hey, this is what I do when I'm here. I lock all the doors. I set the alarm. I check the perimeter. I basically turn into a guard dog, which I do the same thing before I go to sleep. When everybody goes upstairs, I go downstairs. I check all the doors. I check the back door. I check the side door. You know what I'm saying? I go outside and check the door sometimes, just like if I'm just feeling like did somebody come in? Did I go? If I can't remember the garage door, I go outside and I check it. Then I check the inside. I do all of that stuff myself. I do. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I do. So yes, there's nothing wrong with telling your son something like that, but telling your son to be the man of the house, that's not even being the man. These are not the roles of the man. My wife can do this exact same fucking thing. You know what I'm saying? Like I just do it though. That's all it is. My wife does a bunch of shit that may be considered. My wife puts together most of the things in our home too. Like if we get a table or some shit, she usually is the one that puts it together. That she's better at it than I am. She likes, she doesn't like to do it, but she does it. We don't work well together when we do that stuff. We end up just bumping heads the whole time. So it's like, all right. And so she ends up doing it.
Because we're men. If I'm not there to protect, he got to be there to protect. Because you can have all the money in the world, motherfucker climb through the window, that money means nothing. Right. You can have all the celebrity in the world, motherfucker jump through the door, that celebrity means nothing. Yeah. So you got to have a little guard in there, and.
Okay, get a guard dog. Get a Ring camera, get a couple guard dogs. Hell, maybe hire some security. You got that much money. Why are you leaving the protection of your family up to your kid, to your 15-year-old son?
So for me, it's always that idea of American masculinity is very different. You feel it when you go to Europe. Like you see these and you're like, could bust your ass, boy. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You go to Europe
tight ass pants.
Yeah, tight ass pants. Motherfucker, good boy. You better lotion your ankle. Like you feel it when you go to Europe. Even when I was just in Kenya and I was walking around, I'm like, Yeah. Dude was like, you ain't from here. Like, nah. Like, yeah, I could tell. I know you can. I could tell I ain't from here.
This shit is so goofy. This is little kid shit. Tight pants. So you still judging men based on how they dress? Thinking it's cool. Like, yeah, I ain't from here. I ain't from here. You sound like Ray from fucking Life. They know I'm from New York in here. Like, nobody give a fuck. What are you talking about, Anthony? This shit, this is disgusting. Watching black men cackle about shit like this, it annoys me. It does. It does. Your whole idea of masculinity, you got it from a white man. You got it from a racist white man who beat it into us on a plantation. And you out here keying and cackling about it. Then you go to the continent of Africa and laugh at Kenyans who are actually from Africa. And instead of you going, damn, why does my masculinity look so different than the Kenyan masculinity? You go, I'm American. You can tell I ain't from here. Like, all right.
You know what I mean? It's just that American male masculinity is something I think
Chauvinism, that American male chauvinism. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's very important for boys because now our little boys are afraid to fail, so they don't try. You know what I mean? When we were kids, we did tackle drills. We would run face first into each other.
We just talked about
afraid to fail. The boys are afraid to fail, so they don't try. They're not afraid to fail. The fuck? That's not what's going on.
They shot. Dudes don't even talk to a woman face to face.
They don't know how no more because, women they are so mean and so angry. Bruh, I saw this, my nephew was talking to this girl. Oh my God, dude, she just killed him. I mean, he was like, excuse me, how you doing? She goes, ugh. How do you come back from that? He just walked over to me. I gave him his beer. I was like, there you go, bro. That didn't happen. Let's start over.
You said Betty White shot at you and you flinched. You ain't doing that.
I was, yes. But the thing about it is, when you look at the reason I flinched.
Betty White, 113-year-old Betty White, flinched.
The reason I thought it was so funny, when you look at the history of her in Hollywood, it was actually like a touching moment. Like Betty White had her own like Johnny Carson late night show. She was the first person to put a black man on television. Wow. And that's why they canceled her show. They were like, take him off. He was like the dance instructor for the show. And he would dance on the show. And they were like, take him off or you're going to get canceled. One season she was canceled with a highly rated show. So, you know, when you see who you're dealing with, when you go back and watch Golden Girls, you know what I mean? And when Don Cheadle, one of my favorite episodes of TV ever, there was a Golden Girl episode and Blanche came out and put the Confederate flag in front of the check-in booth. So Don Cheadle had this moment, bruh. And this is when I knew. I was like, this dude ain't human. Like, there's no way he's acting like this is the best actor of all time. Hands down. Like, I started acting because of Don Cheadle and this moment. Like, the monologue he had, the way he cut them to pieces, the way he utilized his words about that flag. I was like, holy shit, that's what we doing.
Man, that was such an interesting exchange and a terrible analysis of what's going on in America and in the world with men and women, calling women mean, saying, oh, these women are just mean and bit like this is crazy. This is crazy. Like I said, I've done a video or two, you know, featuring Anthony Mackie, and Anthony Mackie is very much a male chauvinist. Like, he's a black male chauvinist. He doesn't understand it at all. You know, he sounds very much. I mean, for all intents and purposes, he just sounds like a typical, you know, racist white T man talking about masculinity, right? Very conservative in this aspect, and it's a little jarring, to be honest with you, to hear him talk about it in this way. Which leads me to this, because this is how it is being framed by the right, and it sounds very much like Anthony Mackie. It's in that same vein, And that's why we talk about the pipeline, like the red pill pipeline. Listen.
Democrats have a man problem. So according to John at The Atlantic, Democrats have a man problem. Most of the quotes in this article were from a guy named Jake Auchincloss, who was talking about how Democrats need to reach out to men. And he says, no one wants to hear men talk about masculinity, Auchincloss, a former Marine, said. We're not going to orient society's decision-making to the cognitive worldview of a 16-year-old male. Okay, with you so far. Even as he disavowed the...
And like I said, Anthony Mackie sounded like a child talking about masculinity. And even this dude, this is crazy. This is crazy. This is interesting. Damn, this is interesting. It was like perfect. I'm so happy that Therese did this. Shout out to Therese. This is one of my mutuals on TikTok. Shout out to Therese. I'm so happy that I found these two clips because I couldn't really contextualize what was going on with Anthony Mackie. Like I listened to it and I had so many things, but I wanted more and I was waiting to find, just something to like really tie it all in together. But this is exactly what it is.
So far, even as he disavowed the idea of solving the guy problem should involve some promotion of testosterone-laced pandering, he suggested that the party ought to find its way to a more positive, inspirational message. We need to embrace a culture of heroism, not a culture of victimhood.
So this dude is trying to pull the Democratic establishment to the right because he just saw what happened with the right wingers and with Trump and how Trump was able to pander to, white male fragility, right? And get and a lot of black men, a lot of Latino men, and a lot of Asian men as well. He was able to pander to those men and sell them on this idea. And the right at JD Vance, like the right in general, they did a really good job at this. They pander to male fragility, but white male fragility specifically, because that's where all of us get in this country. That's where all of us get our idea of masculinity from, for the most part, right? So the right really pandered to those men and got them to buy into this idea that it's not their fault. The reason why they're in the position they're in isn't their fault, which is the opposite of what this dude is saying. This dude is saying they don't want to be told that they're victims, but that's all they did on the right was tell the men that they're victims. They said they're racist, misogynistic man. The reason why your ex-wife left you wasn't because of anything you did. It was because of this wokeness. It was because of DEI. It was because they are allowed to divorce men and all women just wake up, every day of the week and they just go, I don't want to be with my man anymore. It has nothing to do with you. You didn't do anything wrong. The divorce came out of nowhere. The reason why that girl rejected you, the reason why that girl said, ew, get out of here, wasn't because 10 other dudes had approached her the exact same way and they were all very disrespectful. And so now she's just done with, just done talking to men. And, you just got in the way of that, right? Like you were just another victim, right? But you didn't hurt her. It had nothing to do with you as a man. Yeah, you've done that to women too. You've harassed women in the past, but you weren't going to harass her. And she didn't know that. And that's unfair. Like that's how they pander to these men. They tell the men it's all the women's fault. It's the soy boys' fault, and it's these feminists, these feminazis' fault, and this woke ideology. It's all their fault. And this guy who Therese is quoting is trying to pull the Democratic establishment more right with this ideology, with this approach.
Young men need models for their ambition, as if ambition is an exclusively male thing. Senator Chris Murphy, my senator from Connecticut, said that most liberals are, quote, squeamish about masculine themes, saying that the party is losing male voters because talking about the need to improve the lives of men runs afoul of the word police, basically political correctness.
Because you don't need to highlight improving the lives of men. If you improve the lives of women, the lives of men will also improve. Whatever you would do for women, it would, meaning what I'm saying is, if you got rid of if you regulated every industry to the point to where they couldn't discriminate, which sounds crazy, right? But like, you know, whatever. If you regulated them, if you said every industry has to break down like this, minimum 20% black staff, 50% white staff, you know, 10% Asian staff, and you know, whatever, and the rest indigenous, Latino, you know, like that kind, you know, because if you're white passing, then I would just consider you white, and if you're Afro, you're black. So, you know, whatever. So it would have to be like indigenous, Latino, and indigenous American, you know, makes up, you know, whatever, 3, 4, 5%, you know, whatever it is, right? Whatever the remaining number is, makes it way easier because there really is no reason to not do that. And if they can't, and then they would have to just, all they would have to do is just like, if black people weren't trying to work at that, then you would just have to show like we just didn't have enough black applicants. And it doesn't mean I have to hire every black person, but you know, you could regulate it within reason, right? If they did that, women would get more jobs, men would get more jobs of all walks of life. Like the lives of men would improve if you did that. If everybody had healthcare, the lives of men would improve. If you protected children, the lives of men would improve because boys grow up to be men, right? So all these things would benefit men ultimately. If you gave everybody access to an education, men's lives would improve because a lot more men would go to college as well. Probably not as much as women, but it would improve, and so on and so forth. So you don't really need to do anything specifically for men. There's nothing we need to do specifically for men. Nothing. Not at least nothing I can see.
Too much political correctness. That's why. That's why the Democrats are losing voters. Oh, I'm sure that's why. There was a reluctance inside the progressive movement to squarely acknowledge gender differences, and that has really put us on the back foot. For Murphy, wait for it, the right message might come from an earlier era, a notion that could seem antithetical to the very idea of progressivism.
So make America great again, basically. What was Anthony Mackie saying? We have lost maleness in this country. Same shit. They always want to go back. Like I said, when do you guys want to go back? How far back do you guys want to go? How far back do you guys want to go? When they were running ads for Van Heusen, and you know, and showing depictions of women as goddamn throw rugs, and men were like stepping on the backs of women, like it would be like a tiger rug with the head of a human woman, and he would just be like kicking his feet up on her. Or the one where it was like the woman was across the man's knee and he was spanking her. Like, you want to go back to those days? Or like what days do you think are the days we need to get back to with men to make men feel like men?
We cannot and shouldn't abandon some of the traditional ways that men find value and meaning in providing protection, in taking high levels of risk, in taking pride in physical work. There's a lot of worry that all those traditional male characteristics are somehow illegitimate. How often and how much are these guys gonna miss the point so, like, amazingly? The reason that men are floundering is precisely that traditional notion of masculinity. The reason why men are failing and flailing, as Bourbon Bougie likes to say, is because the things that lead to success in our society, education, namely the big one, and the areas of the economy that have been growing over the past 20, 30 years, are girl-coded. At some point, education and office work became girl-coded. And what happens when too many
Medicine too.
women, I've talked about this before, what happens when too many women get involved in a thing? Whether it's school, a particular profession, vocation, men lose respect for it. A while back, I stitched a video of a guy who was taking his daughter to a high school orientation. And it had all the students there from the student body making a presentation. And it was like the president of the student council, the vice president, and the entire student council. And he noticed something. He noticed the entire student council was girls. There were no boys in student council. And he brought up this very thing of like, when too many women get involved, men lose interest. And at what point, he wondered hysterically, at what point will being president of the United States become girl-coded? How many women have to get involved in politics for it to be considered girl-coded and for men to lose interest? Can we fast forward to that time? Remember, the cornerstone of patriarchy is to despise all things feminine. Masculinity is defined so much not by what you are, but what you're not.
Yep.
To be a man is to not be a woman.
Yep.
When people say working class, they're almost always referring to white men. There are working class women too.
Yep.
There are working class Mexican people. There are working class Black people.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, the working class people that we lost were white people. It was Hispanic working class people that made up the difference that put Trump over the top. But when we say working class, what they mean is they're trying to win back white male voters.
Yep.
But white male voters weren't the problem. It was Hispanic working class voters.
I disagree with white male voters weren't the problem. And I know what she's saying. Because in this country, it's like this. We just figure white people are going to be split down the middle on right wing, I'm saying liberal or conservative or whatever, right? Democrat, Republican. So then we go now it's up to the minorities to tip the scales. And I don't like that. I want to blame the people who we need to blame the most. The people who I blame the most are white men. That's the people I blame the most for the problems we're in, the most. I will not blame a Latino man or a Latino woman. I won't do it. I won't say that they're the problem. I won't do that. I will always say number one is the white male. Number one, when we talk politics, they're the ones who will shoot their nose to spite their face over and over and over again. They are the ones because they are part of the working class, but yet they act like they're not. They identify more with Bill Gates. They identify more with Elon Musk than they do with you and I, and they have way more in common with you and I as Black people or working class people. I don't care what race you are, man or woman. They have more in common with us than they ever would with a Donald Trump, than they ever would with an Elon Musk. So I blame them number one. Then I blame white women number two. and then we can go down the line from there.
That abandon the Democrats. And then they go on to say, we have to go to where the men are. There's a candidate in Arizona who beat Kerry Lake. He went to boxing gyms and soccer watch parties. Overall, in the United States, close to 1/3 of soccer fans are women. And if you're talking just women's soccer, 47% of those fans are women. Sports is not a man-only thing. Women like sports too. The world has changed, and trying to reach out to male voters by hearkening back to these traditional areas of masculinity, when it's precisely those traditional areas of masculinity and clinging to that idea is why they're floundering in the first place.
Yep. Men
are falling behind in all these things because what we've told them their purpose is in life to be a paycheck and, a white man meat shield to protect.
And to be a worker, and to be a consumer. Those are the two things. And we saw a protector. I mean, like what she's talking about, she was about to say like a human meat shield for the U.S. military. Those are the three things that men are expected to be in this country: a worker, a consumer, and a protector of patriarchy and the American hegemony, right?
Their family. Women don't need those things anymore. We can earn our own money. And we've also finally realized, and we have data supporting this, that the most dangerous man in a woman's life is the man she married. The man most likely to harm us is the guy in the bed next to us. It is precisely these men's misogyny that is holding them back.
Yep.
Because now that the majority of students in college are women, they see college as a chick thing. And all of a sudden we're hearing these talking points from men, Black and white, saying, we don't care about your degrees and that's just more debt and who cares if you own a house, whatever. These things that are like the keys to success.
Like home ownership is becoming a girl-coded thing. Hey, what the hell is wrong with y'all?
Success in capitalist America suddenly are bad because Women are doing them in larger numbers. It's their misogyny that's holding them back. And it's their own misogyny that is limiting them to those very narrow roles in life. Why aren't you talking to men about how to be good fathers? Why aren't you talking to men about how to manage a household? Why aren't you talking to men about mental health? Why are we only talking to women about shit involving children? That's the problem. You're trying to reach out to men only talking about, sports and the fact that grandpa could support a family on a working class man's salary. When you should be connecting to them as humans. Stop limiting them to these freaking bullshit roles. That's what's causing the problem. Why are you trying to give them more of what's harming them? It is this masculinity, this traditional masculinity, these traditional masculine ideas. They are the problem. The reason that they feel the Democratic Party isn't for them is because we've spent forever telling them that the things that women are interested in aren't for them. And since we talk about progressive things like education, they're specifically told that these things aren't for them. Abortion is not a women's issue. Abortion is an economic issue. Abortion is a healthcare issue. Abortion is a family issue. Men are part of families too.
Sometimes.
We're so focused on harkening back to the days when they were the head of the family that we forget that they're part of the family. And these family issues aren't women's issues. They are American issues. They are working class issues.
Yep.
So the problem isn't that you're talking about these important things. The problem is that we've told generation upon generation of men that those things aren't for them.
Yep.
That those very human things, raising children, managing households, unpacking gender roles, that's chick stuff. College, homeownership, that's chick stuff.
Therapy, drinking water.
We want to talk about
stretching,
monster trucks and sports. In rejecting the progressive message, they're not just rejecting the Democratic Party. What they're really rejecting is women.
That's it.
Because all the things that our party embodies are things that, because of patriarchy and misogyny, are things that are associated with women. Their rejection of progressive politics is a rejection of women.
And you can see the writings on the wall with this, because you are like after Kamala lost, they were like, oh, we'll never have a female president, yada, yada, yada. Like that's where we're at. So you can already see the writings on the wall. Like they're going to go back to, I don't know, Gavin Newsom, you know what I mean? The cookie cutter white man politician, almost guaranteed. But all in all, everything, all of that just ties in perfectly with what Anthony Mackie was saying, because they're trying to get us to go back, but we can't go back, man. I'm sorry to tell y'all, we cannot go back.